Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing great today. This is Lisa Marie Aird with Campus Bound GPS October Tips. October Tips is a program where every day in the month of October, we will provide a tip on the college application process. Uh, through Campus Bound GPS, which is a program that I started about 6 years ago. And we help students and parents navigate the college application process. I am Lisa Marie Aird, Collegiate Success Coach for Campus Bound GPS, and I am super excited because we are on day 3. We're moving, we're getting there. 3 days to 31st, right? The conversation so far has focused around probably what's the number one concern for parents and students going through the college application process, which is how are we going to pay for college? So we spoke about FAFSA for the last couple of days, and today my guest, who is near and dear to my heart, will have a conversation about how you as a student can help your parents. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Melina Watson. Hello, Melina.
Hello. So happy I could join you.
Thank you. I can go on and on about you, but what I will do is let you introduce yourself, just say a little bit about yourself to the audience so that there's some background and context, and then we'll start.
All right. Well, my name is Melina Watson. I am a third year student at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, which has been the number one HBCU for 15 years. Have to shout out my school. I am studying philosophy, minoring in political science on a pre-law track. I graduated from Freedom High School in Loudoun County, Virginia in 2019. And I have had some success winning scholarships my senior year of high school. And so I'm happy to share with anyone because it was really life changing for me. And I think it can be done. And so I'm happy to be here and have the opportunity to speak on it.
Thank you. And that's why we have you here because there's a major concern. And one of the most helpful ways, let me backtrack again. So I always feel that it's important to have that family conversation. Did you and your folks talk about money and paying for college before you started, really got heavy into this conversation about the college application process or before you started selecting schools?
Yeah, it happened almost naturally in the schools that I was looking at, and many of which were private institutions. Spelman is a private institution. And so when you're learning the difference between private and public, in state, out of state, or in the case of private schools, in which it's just one flat rate for tuition, room and board fees, some of those numbers can be daunting. Spelman's number is quite daunting. And some of the other schools that I was looking at also had numbers that were or cost of tuition and cost of attendance that were incredibly high. And then at one point I was considering, playing soccer at Hampton. And so then there's a conversation there about scholarships. And so we had a conversation pretty early on about paying for college, what was feasible. And then also strategically thought, okay, well, this school is might be more incredibly expensive. Let's also counteract that with a school that we can afford, or a state school. And so the conversation about finances was crucial throughout the entire college application process for me and my family.
Okay. Well, how many schools did you end up applying to?
I I am a junior now in college. We're talking 3, 4 years ago now. But I applied to 7. I applied to, do you want me to list them?
If you like.
Well, Spelman, where I ultimately attended, Hampton University, University of Virginia, Duke University, Columbia University, Fordham University, and then New York University. Those were the 7 that I applied to.
Okay. How was your journey as you went through this application process and selecting the schools and getting accepted?
Um, it was a long process. I think no one really told me how difficult the process would be and how long it is. You're starting, I applied early to some schools, so that was taking place in October, November, and then I'm applying regular decision to some schools, and that deadline's January 1st. And so it's a long stretch, a period of a couple months in which I'm writing essays, revising essays, reviewing applications, and it takes a toll because you're trying to sell yourself, and that in itself is a process which you have to mentally like be prepared for. So I found it difficult. And then I immediately following sort of those deadlines, I was applying for scholarships, which I also found difficult, which we'll get into later. Um, I say all that it can be done, and I'm doing well now. And so I got through all that hard work, and it meant something, and it paid off in the end. But it was challenging.
Okay. So let's go into your tip. Your tip is, um, what's your tip? What's your tip?
Well, students can go to by applying to scholarships or winning scholarships, they can help themselves and help their parents.
Help themselves, help their parents. That's what I was trying to get out. Help themselves. So, as a student, how important was it for you to help your parents?
It was really important. I I knew that the cost of attendance at Spelman was a big burden, and I didn't want my parents to face alone. And I knew that I was blessed to have parents who could help me, so I wanted to help them as much as they wanted to help me. And then I also, like, for some students, finding scholarships is important to help yourself because, some people's parents aren't necessarily in a position to help them pay for college. And so that's an out of pocket expense for them. But and I knew my education was important. And so having a quality education came at a price, but I knew I needed it. And so I was doing everything in my power to make sure I could have it and sustain it for 4 years.
Okay. So, big question, and this leads into your tip. How did you help? How did you help yourself to help your parents?
Yeah, I was on a grind. I was looking for scholarships anywhere I could, locally, nationally, regionally, um, everywhere I could find when I was applying to it where I saw fit. And if I was qualified or if I could, if necessary, finesse a way into being qualified, I would. And so I was really on a search, and I casted my net as wide as I could in hopes of just, sending an application and hoping for the best. And so that's sort of a very vague description, but just applying for anything and everything was really how I went about it.
And what did you produce?
I I well received a considerable amount of money from schools via merit-based scholarships. And so I would tell people that the grades that you have in high school matter. The essay that you write for college matters because it will, and when applying and sending in like a well-rounded application matters because institutional aid and merit scholarships and all of that can really um, amount to something substantial for your cost of attendance. And then outside scholarships, I think I was essentially able to um my via outside scholarships, I was able to amount half of my cost of tuition. So Spelman's tuition cut in half. That I won more than that in scholarships. So if my tuition essentially covered entirely at that point, because of scholarships from Spelman as well as outside scholarships. And so I amassed more money in outside scholarships my senior year of high school than Spelman even offered me from my own merit base. So if that puts it into perspective.
Okay, so how did you go through the process? What, and let's talk a little bit about mindset. What was your mindset going into the college application process and actually going into applying for scholarships?
Yeah, so I almost treated it like a job. Set aside time practically every day to just commit to working on my essays or mainly the essays. And then I sort of carried the momentum of those college applications in like the fall and winter months into the winter and spring months in which a lot of scholarships are due. And so I could have just sat down and been like, oh, got these college applications out the way, I'm done. But I was like, no, 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 let me power through and finish out. And so that's what really was abled me to apply for so many scholarships, I just carried on that momentum and pushed through. And it was difficult and it was hard and it required a lot of discipline. It required a lot of organization, but I knew that the hard work would pay off in the end, and it did. And so I just carried through that momentum of, okay, I'm going to get these all college applications in. Okay, I'm going to get these scholarship applications in too.
Okay, so let's talk about your tips. You because you have a list of things here, so just go through it.
Okay. So I think first and foremost, discipline and organization are essential. Um, like I said, treating it like a job, like committing time to it consistently is what's going to enable you. And making sure you have deadlines set, making sure you have time, set aside to focus and attend to the scholarship essays and applications, and remaining organized in doing so, knowing, okay, this is due on the 15th, let's say, I'm going to get it in on the 13th. And sort of, I personally had an Excel spreadsheet because I put them all in with the dates, the names, the requirements, the links if they're necessary. And so I could stay organized, because when I had so many, it was very easy just to let one or two slip. And then that can be a snowball effect. And then you're like, oh, wait, I haven't applied to anything in a while. And there's plenty of scholarships out there. I think the most scholarships out there are available for high school seniors. In my personal experience, that was the time in which I was most favorable. And I have had, some success since then, but I think that is the time to really capitalize for students, like that period between high school, senior, freshman year of college. Everyone wants to reward you with scholarship. And so that kind of goes into my next tip, which is that the money is out there. The money is out there. You have to find it, find what applies to you. I A lot of local organizations really came through for me. The national scholarships I didn't fare too well in, but in my county of Loudoun County or in Northern Virginia, that's where I was able to really be successful in the scholarship application, and be awarded some considerable amount of money. And then I would say lastly that, like I said, it's hard work. And so I was putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it paid off in the end. And so I would tell people that the light is there at the end of the tunnel. The college application process is not easy. Finding scholarships is not easy, and it doesn't get any easier once you get to college. But the work is rewarding when it happens. And so just give it your best, and that'll be enough.
Okay, so prior to us going live, we did have a small conversation, and some people may hear you speak and say, "Yeah, yeah, it's hard work, but what's the payoff?" And you were being very modest, but let's put the numbers to it. You know, how break it down via merit based versus outside sources.
Okay.
Let's see what your numbers are.
So this is my senior year of high school into my freshman year at Spelman. And so as a senior applying to schools, I received institutional, or not institutional, merit scholarships from 3 schools, maybe 4. There was a weird mix up what happened where I thought I received like a scholarship after I had accepted another school. So I'll never really know for certainty whether or not that was the case. But for the 3 schools out of the 7 that I was certain, that totaled to about $250,000. Um, and then in outside scholarships that year, I won about $14,000. And so it was a lot of money, more money than I've won at any other point in my life via scholarships. And so those are the numbers.
Good, good. And it just pays to hear it, to see what is possible. You are living proof that putting in the hard work, seeking out these scholarships are important, and there is a payoff.
Mhm.
Are there any scholarship sites that you would recommend?
I think if, students who are like Pell Grant eligible, um, UNCF, the United Negro College Fund, has plenty of scholarships that are funded by a lot of corporations. And so they offer oftentimes recurring scholarships. Um, oh goodness, there's a website. I think it's called JVL Scholarships. It's got like teal a logo. So if anyone's looking, look out for that. And then I would suggest, like, wherever you're at, just type in like the name of your county scholarship. And that, I know I typed in like Loudoun County, Northern Virginia scholarships, and those led me to like sites that I can't recall off the top of my head, but just organizations within the area that were offering scholarships. I, for those of you who are familiar with Black Greek letter organizations, the Divine Nine, they often have scholarships for high school students. And so I was able and awarded scholarships from a few local chapters of multiple different organizations. And so I was forever grateful to those individuals. And trying to think where else your school might have resources. I know my counseling center at my high school, they offered a list of some organizations that they knew of. And then if you have like adult mentors in your life, or see if your parents' companies offer scholarships, neighbors where they work, those corporations might. And so word of mouth never hurts. A Google search is always good, but finding out from people in your community, they might also be able to put in a good word for you. And but I think starting locally helped me a lot, and then just Googling scholarships for women, scholarships for Black women, scholarships for Black women going into, law. That's where I found some as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So, from what I hear, it's being organized, being disciplined, and put in the work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. Well, this is a lot of good information. Um, Anything else that you'd like to add?
I would love to reiterate the fact that the opportunity is really for high school seniors. There are so many scholarships. And now, as a college student, a third year college student at that, I'm looking and I'm seeing still so many scholarships out there for high school seniors, people going into their first year of college. And so I know that the college application process can be draining and exhausting, but it is so, so crucial that you take the time and seize the opportunity that is before you. And I think I did, and I fared well. And so I look back on that, and I'm incredibly proud of myself. But now, as a student, where I feel like there's limited or just fewer number, or maybe they're even harder to find now. Um, I'm I I'm envious of people coming into their freshman year, because I'm like, I know they got the opportunity. I know that they got a spreadsheet if they do, and it's full. And so, yeah, and like Miss Lisa said, it's organization, it's discipline, and it's really persistence. Um, I think what I didn't speak on is the no's. For as many scholarships that I applied to, I heard a lot of no's. And although I did win, like $14,000 in outside scholarships, there were a lot of no's, and those then they were discouraging. And even now, as I'm applying for scholarships in college, hearing a lot of no's, and it is quite discouraging, but have to keep applying. You have to keep trying, because it's one, and then it's two, and then it's three, and then there you got it, at that point. And so a no isn't the end all be all, because there is a yes coming. So that's something to also keep in mind for students.
That's definitely great advice. Quick question. What about the process of writing the essays?
Yes. So it was hard, especially when different applications were requiring very specific essays. But what I did find is that a lot of the applications or scholarship questions are roughly similar. And so if you write one good essay or one or two good essays and just tweak them for the applications if it's necessary, or just copy and paste, because sometimes the prompts are just alike that you can do that. But having one solid essay, that a lot of the scholarship questions are very much the same. Like, what are your aspirations for going to college? What do you want to do with your career? How do you see this being meaningful, purposeful, yada, 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 all that. If you got one good essay on that, you can use it for multiple things. And then sometimes it takes a new essay and a new brand idea, but you got to do it. And so keeping it, or writing it down, doing it, and then keeping it and saving it, because you might find that prompt comes again later. But I would say one solid essay that you see to be a commonality of scholarship questions. And then for the other ones, just got to do it. And sometimes, they do apply, but it's frustrating sometimes when you get a question that's super random. And it's like, okay, well, why couldn't you ask me what my career goals were? Because I've got that already. But yeah, that was sort of my experience with the questions.
So another question, and this is actually towards your parents. How did they support you, or what kind of support do you feel you needed while you were going through this process?
Yeah, I think I got some tough love. And as much as I like, my mother was on me about you got to do this, you got to do that. And I think now I had it under control. I'd say I had it under control. She might differ in opinion, but she was constantly like reminding me to go do this, go do that. And so some students need that push. I think I'm fairly organized and disciplined, and I had my spreadsheet and I lived by my spreadsheet, and that carried me through. But for parents who know that their students need a little reminder, there is nothing wrong with that. And if parents, right, have a vested interest in lowering the cost of of their child's attendance, then I think it's necessary. Maybe y'all share the spreadsheet, or it's written down on a piece of paper with the hard deadlines, or put in the family calendar, or whatever is necessary. But making a note of what is due and when it's due is what your student needs, because they're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be inundated with dates and questions and essays and all the above. And so helping them stay organized and stay on track, I say, is the best thing parents could offer.
And proofreading.
Oh, yes, and proofreading.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're looking at the same essay over and over again, and you've said this one quote,
Eyes.
you just eyes become glossed over. You don't pick up on the comma splices and the misspellings. And so
Mhm.
definitely for proofreading.
Awesome. Okay. So I think this was a lot of great information. Students out there, you can help your parents. You can help yourself and help your parents by applying for scholarships and lightening the burden of the cost of tuition. And you heard it here from Melina. She has gone through the process, tried and true, and can say that she was able to assist her parents while going through the college application process and selecting the school that is her choice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I think Spelman is the best choice that I've ever made.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're wrapping up day 3. I am so excited. We're moving along. The goal is to be able to present a tip a day. And if you're watching this on replay, feel free to ask any questions that were not answered, and we will be here for you. And I guess I will just sign off by saying this is Lisa Marie Eard with Campus Bound GPS October Tips. Thank you and be safe.